Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today's December 15th, which means we got some exciting automotive news today. We got some Shelby news. Audi has some information. GM shows off a new front end for their new electric truck. Toyota and Lexus literally gave us everything at once. We'll dive into that. And the Genesis G90 we talked a little bit about last week. Well, we have full details this week. So let's dive right into it. The Shelby news first. Shelby, as you know, is, of course, they modify Ford vehicles and they decided why not make the GT500 better? So the standard GT500 that you can get at a Ford dealer, it's like 760 horsepower. You're like, that's sufficient, right? Shelby's like, no, it's not. So they're making this GT500KR, which stands for King of the Road, with more than 900 horsepower, thanks to a 3.8-liter supercharger bolting onto the GT500 chassis. This thing is nuts, and it looks quite good as well. Because from just the pictures that they're showing us, it looks like a standard GT500, but with a more aggressive hood. Kind of has that Need for Speed vibe to me. I don't know why, but
Mhm.
kind of looks like that. But you get a carbon hood, carbon diffuser, as well as the carbon splitter on the front. You get bigger
Carbon everything.
wheels. Yeah, just carbon everything. And all this will cost you a nice 128,000 US dollars. Or if you have a GT500, or if you're one of the three that stole a GT500 recently, because there was three stolen recently. Anyways, it's $55,000 to add on to your GT500 to make it king of the road.
AR. So there's been other Shelby specialties in the past, like the Super Snakes or it was a King Cobra. I'm surprised we're at 900 horsepower because I feel like we should be in the four digits by now with the Shelby.
Sorry, you
If
want
this is a
more
hot
power?
rod, like okay, like Ford's already pushing 800 basically. Like they say 760.
Yeah.
Ford typically will underrate the car just because they don't want to be sued that we're falsely advertising. Someone puts in like a bad tank of gas and it's not making 760 and uh I expect more because 15 years ago we were already seeing 800 horsepower GT500s with really simple bolt-ons from what is it? What's that bully Mammoth kit, Mammoth supercharger that you could get. Kenny Bell. They were already supercharging these. Hennessy's done 1,000 horsepowers with their G
Mhm.
Shelby, and so to me, it's like, okay, 900 for this kind of price because those superchargers like Kenny Bell kits are not expensive, and a lot of dealerships will even put it on for you because there's like a few dealerships, especially in the states, that specialize in just modding Mustangs and they'll warranty their work too, which is insane. Uh, the GT500, I like it as is from the way Ford makes it with the
Mm.
wide body. I think it's perfect the way it is. This is going to be one of those, okay, it's branded under Shelby. It's going to be one of these Barrett Jackson sweethearts that it's going to be very low volume. There's, 20 years down the road, it'll be like, this is the only one, blah, 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 in this spec made by Shelby. And Shelby's dead already. Like, it's, to put it bluntly, the previous generation, I think the Super Snake, that one was worth a lot because it was supposedly the last Shelby that Shelby ever touched or even laid eyes on. But now Shelby is no longer. Uh, Shelby pretty of pretty historical significance, like pretty important name for Ford racing. I don't know if you watch Ford versus Ferrari.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, good, fun movie, fun watch. I watched it while driving. illegally.
Oh Jesus,
Let's
this
go
again.
back to that. I think on my way up to Area 27, well, let's watch a movie of people dying in sports cars as I head out
As
to
you,
track.
as that's exactly what you'll
Watch
be doing.
that and Rush, like was it called Rush? The James Hunt one.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But no, this is cool, but I don't think it's enough. Like, but the honestly, the guys that have Shelbys have so much money that it's like, oh, that's what's an extra 50K on top of my car, or 55K on top of a
55, yeah.
normal Shelby. Yeah, if you even have a Shelby, that is. Yeah.
Well, it's super hard to get one, and if you want to buy one these days, they're about like 80,000 US. So like they're
Yeah.
not cheap. So 80,000 and then 50 on top. It's a lot of money to get a GT500KR.
Mhm.
900 horsepower to me, like being rear-wheel drive and being just a Mustang chassis, like I know it can handle it. It's a proven chassis. But as someone that like I drove just like the regular GT, not on the track, but just on the street, it was wet and I I didn't have fun with it.
Yeah,
I
it's too much torque and
it just didn't
uh
if it felt so squirrely because it's just so much power on wet roads. And like if you want more, to just the rear wheels, I think it just needs better management overall. Not like traction management only, but like just throttle management itself. All of that needs to be reworked and retuned to give you, just more
I
finesse.
think that might be the beauty of the supercharger is that you get more as you go up in the rev range
Mm.
compared to just a naturally aspirated V8. Um, yeah, I'm sure there is some drivability tuned into this compared to just you buying a Shelby GT500 and slapping a huge blower on it or like a bigger blower on it. Like if it is tuned by Shelby, I'm sure it's better than your average off the shelf kit.
Well, he did, or not Shelby himself, but Shelby, the company, did put bigger wheels on it. They're 20 by 11s in the front, 20 by 11 and a half in the rear. Looks like
Mhm.
there's Michelin Pilot Sports on it. So like it looks like it's, there's some tire work and wheel work there. There's
Mhm.
also some suspension work. There's adjustable suspension in there, along with the Magna Ride that you get standard with the GT500. So like overall, like it looks like it's a cool package, but I think you're right. It is going to be one of those things that at Barrett Jackson, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Is anyone really driving this on the street? Probably not so much.
Only to cars and coffee.
Yeah,
Like this is one of those cars and coffee flexes. I got the
yeah,
KR. Yeah.
absolutely. Speaking of flexes, there's nothing more flex than this.
Yeah.
So Ken Block, as we know, is a guy that basically is, you
A
know,
driving god.
no, that's Richard Hammond. He proclaimed himself as the driving god on like series 4 or 5. But Ken Block, he basically did a bunch of Gymkhana videos with Subaru in the past and with Ford. But he's moved away from them. He signed on a deal with Audi, and this is like their first kind of collaboration, you can call it.
Mhm.
So it's the brand new Audi S1 e-tron Quattro Hoonicorn. Oh, sorry, not Hoonicorn, Hoonitron,
Hoonitron
to kind of have a play on the name of his branding, which
and
is
the
Hoonigan,
e-tron.
and the e-tron itself.
Should it be Hoon e-tron?
Hoonitron. It's so essentially it's the old S1 Audi that we saw at like Pikes Peak and whatnot. But it's kind of revitalized as a brand new car that's full electric. And it's been said at Hoonigan's YouTube channel, they're going to have a Gymkhana type video with this
Yeah.
vehicle. So it's going to be really exciting and really cool to see. I'm super excited. I really enjoy those little videos. Like, sure, they mean nothing as a car, like you know, doing donuts and whatnot. It's all style. There's no substance there, right? But like it's just so cool to watch.
Yeah, the
So
production value is insane. The San Francisco one and the
the
LA ones blow me away. Like just shutting down busy, like insanely busy cities
yeah,
and pulling stunts like this. I don't know how there actually is a whole documentary series on how they got that done. But I want to mention something about this S1 e-tron, which is just like last week's news piece with the TT Heritage. I don't know what you call it, but
yeah, the heritage version. Yeah, yeah.
Heritage Edition is Audi keeps paying homage to the Quattro, the OG Quattro we know from the Group B rally. Like at some point, you've got to move on. I feel like. Are we? Because has Audi made a legitimate sports slash race car, street car, homologation special or anything like that? I don't want to talk about Le Mans prototypes or anything like kind of unobtainium, but as far as like street car based motorsports, I don't think Audi has done much uh, to really win the hearts of enthusiasts the last 2 decades. So they keep going back to this Group B rally car, which is awesome. I love the aero touches on this e-tron. I love the ridiculous rear spoiler. It's even bigger than the Group B cars. The front spoiler, like the homage is really cool, but I feel like we need to call Audi out for just not having that really compelling sports car that if you really want to capture the enthusiast, it's not a one-off Ken Block video. That's not going to do it for me. It's got to be throughout the brand. You got to show me that you're BMW M, where they have a lot of different levels of how hardcore their sports cars, but they have real investment and real production intentions of making sports cars for the masses, or for mass production at least, that Audi just doesn't do. Like R8 only exists because Volkswagen bought Lambo. It's not, had there been no Lambo, there wouldn't be an R8. Audi would not have these intentions to make their own supercar, and for that reason the R8 is kind of like, yeah, you didn't get a Lambo. Like it's still not there. um I think the RS products are decent, but they're not, again, they have no track credibility. So I think for the last 2 decades, yeah, Audi, I think they need to step it up. I think this is this will not hurt, obviously, but then you just see such a stark contrast between here's what Audi creative people want to do, and then the Audi bean counters, what they really want to build, are so different, right? Like this is a one-off marketing project, but your street cars that you actually make and the ones you actually sell are just eh, like they're forgettable. 2-3 years down the road, you launch, oh, and this is the new blah blah RS. This is the new S model. Like, okay, whatever. Like it's a little bit nicer than the base version, but that's about it. Yeah.
I I kind of agree. I mean, there's no real Audi product that pulls my heartstrings that says, "Hey, this is something that's really that special." Like if you step into an M3 and you drive an M3, it definitely feels special. A
Yeah.
C63 feels special because, especially the older C63, that V8 that was in there was stupendous. Even the new ones are pretty good. Like
Mhm.
they have that crackle, they have that that sound to it. It just feels like an overall like a really good experience. Not
Yeah.
saying like an RS3 or RS7
People
isn't
are very excited
fast.
about the RS6, but after driving it, I'm like, this car is kind of boring.
But I
I've
think
had the chance to, and
that's
yeah,
what all Audis are, right? Like
that's the thing, right?
they're
Like
they're
it's
boring cars, but they're quick cars. they're super understated, quick, and boring vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's saying they're not capable. It's just like, yeah, the brand is just not this. It's not this exciting. Like I don't know what the point of this Ken Block partnership is because you don't really have the exciting lineup to back it up. That is
I'm
the issue.
curious what this brings to Ken Block and his racing career as well, because like he does rallies. Is he gonna just take like the A3 or A1? Because I know in other parts of the world, you like at Rallycross, there's the A1 that they take. Is that what he's gonna do for his rallies? Because he's been using the Fiesta and Focuses for a while. I don't exactly know where he's going with that. So
yeah, I mean, just looking at the Ford lineup, right? Like Ford, they did do the Hoonicorn, which is based off the '60s Mustang. Like look, completely different underneath, of course, but they have the Raptor to back it up. They have the RS product, the Focus to back it up. They have the ST products, and they just have a more exciting lineup that like they actually intend to build these cars. That you just don't get that sense from Volkswagen or Audi.
yeah, no, I hear you, but we'll see what Audi does with Ken Block here and what the future entails. I'm excited a little bit to see. Well, I'm excited to see this film. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But
Electricana is what they're dubbing it.
That's
Working
a
title.
that's
but
a decent name. That's a decent name
yeah.
for it. I don't know if you watched, but I think it was Travis Pastrana. He did one recently. Maybe not recently. Maybe a year ago. Was it a year ago? I can't
Was that in
remember.
the Subaru?
Yeah, it was in a Subaru.
Okay, yeah, I think I saw that one.
That one wasn't bad, but I don't think it was as cool as like the I think the
Yeah.
OG Gymkhana videos were amazing, and then it got kind of sucky in the middle. But the later one was good as well, like the LA one.
The high budget ones, like
Yeah,
everyone wants to be involved. Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about GM. So GM, of course, huge company. They revealed this picture of the front end of their next electric truck, and it's the Sierra. So they're going with the Sierra EV to compete, of course, with the F-150, the Rivian, the Cybertruck, and whoever else is making a truck these days. But they're showing off just the front end of it. It basically looks like a current Sierra, except it's just
The
LED.
grill is blocked off.
The grill is blocked off. It kind of looks like it has illumination around the grill.
It kind of looks like the Tundra too.
It has a Tundra look, but
Yeah.
some may say that Tundra stole that look from GM.
You know, we'll bring it up again when we talk about our next story, but I think you'll see it as well with another thing that's in the news this week. But yeah, that front end, just take a mental picture of the new Sierra Denali front end. I think there's a lot of promise here. I'm really excited about the new Hummer.
Yeah, so GM's first electric SUV is going to be electric truck is going to be the Hummer, and then they're going to the Hummer SUV, which is basically just that except in an SUV format, and then this is going to be the third one. But they also said exclusively it will launch only in the Denali trim. So I think there's a reason for this, right? Most companies are going with these electric trucks, are going with these high-end vehicles. They're not going for the everyman work truck.
Yeah.
I think that's a good call because if you're working with a truck, you want that towing capability. You want the long distance. They're probably not going to buy an electric truck because it doesn't have that, the distance that you can cover as you can in a regular gasoline or diesel truck, right? So like it makes sense to go with Denali. The only thing is it's going to be expensive because standard Sierra Denalis right now, they're like 80, 90K. This it has to be more than that. It has to be more than the gasoline version. So I'm just afraid that this will be looking at like 90K and then it's going to be like just a little too much
Yeah.
to to really be competitive.
Yeah, I think the Rivian is aiming for around there, about 90 to 100 as well.
It is, yeah.
And then this obviously GM's dealer network is in North America is quite compelling. And I think going with the high trim only is the right move because they can give it its we don't know what the interior is going to be like, but here's the main issue with the previous GM truck that we always roast is that they have to base it on that $25,000 two-wheel drive steel wheel model. And then because of that, a lot of that trickles upwards in a not so pleasant way. That when we're just going to start off with a Denali, it's going to be a lot nicer, I think. And knowing how GM's trend is with their interiors, I think they've stepped it up a lot there. So yeah, it's got to be a luxury truck. They've got to have the margin to back up all the R&D and engineering that goes behind really a mass market full size EV truck. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I don't the only thing that that keeps like, coming back into my mind is because it's in a Denali trim, I think more people are gonna go towards the F-150 because you can get into
It's more
one
approachable.
exactly. You can get into one at a lower cost.
Well, and Cybertruck is cheap. That's
Cybertruck
the
is
other one to look out for.
well, it's cheap when it was launched. When it actually comes out, that'll be different. Because I mean,
True.
how much was a Tesla 3 when it launched, and how much is a Tesla 3 now?
Still within 8 grand, I think. Yeah.
Well, no more
It
incentives.
was
Well,
dirt cheap. It was dirt cheap before.
yeah,
Now it's still reasonable.
it's
But
reasonable, but it's definitely not dirt cheap. It wasn't like
yeah.
before. It was like, why are you buying a Camry when you can buy a Tesla Model 3?
Yeah.
Now it's like, maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't buy a BMW 3 Series kind of thing.
Yeah, because they aim to have that base model Cybertruck around where the Model 3 was, like
Yeah,
40K US,
yeah,
which, let's say it's 45K US, like a 60K Canadian target. I think that's still going to be a lot cheaper than this because 60K is not very loaded, the full size truck.
yeah.
That's pretty average trim. My XLT stickered for about 60K, and it's pretty bare bones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
didn't you have like a 4.3-inch screen in yours?
yeah, 4.3 backup camera. Oh, mine does have all the trailer and stuff, trailer packs and stuff, but yeah, it's fairly basic. XLT is like the second from the lowest trim.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I I'm I'm happy to see GM is finally doing something with the truck line. The Hummer SUV EV thing, the Motor Trend considered it as truck of the year. It didn't win it. That was a Rivian, but they did consider it. It was a contender. And
yeah,
I read the reviews on it. It's like they did like the Hummer SUV itself, or Hummer truck, or Hummer EV, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
So, it
You can't compete with the Rivian in terms of that because I think the Rivian is designed for like really high volume. Like I think it's gonna replace the truck for a lot of people. The Hummer is still a toy.
Hummer
Like
is a
it
toy.
crab walks, it's amazing, but it's not going to be the one that's like mass mass adopted truck. Like I think the Rivian is the size of a Tacoma.
It
So
is.
that's what makes it so appealing is that it's a lot more approachable, and then they'll have their R1S as well.
Yeah, the actual
Um,
SUV. Yeah,
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see kind of what else that comes, in the lineup itself. But Toyota has released literally all of their cars in this one press event here.
yeah,
Um,
15 different concepts. Actually, well, some we've seen before,
mhm.
but yeah, no, it's pretty insane that just
They want to roll out 30 new models by 2030.
yeah.
That's a lot of cars. So
Yeah,
30 brand new models, that's a lot of cars.
30 brand new
Between
models, and they're starting now because like knowing how Toyota makes their cars, development doesn't happen in 2 or 3 years. It happens over like a
10.
decade. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about these cars a little bit. So there's a lot of them. There's some that's quite interesting. There's some that's kind of like you know, don't care too much about. But first of all, there's the BZ or BZ lineup. The BZ4X or V.
X, that's the one
X.
we've seen.
Yeah, that's the one that we've
Solterra.
seen. That's the Subaru Solterra. But that's going to be, the RAV4 kind of replacement. But there's going to be a smaller version of that, and then even smaller. Like they
There's a
don't really have.
coupé one.
There's no real names for these cars just yet, so there's nothing that really they named anything. So they call it a crossover SU or crossover EV, a BZ small crossover, a BZ compact SUV. There's a sedan which is Camry size, which they call the BZ SDN or sedan. And then they have the BZ5X, which is a slightly bigger version of the BZ4. So think Highlander in terms of that size. So like
Yeah.
the BZ is the Beyond Zero, right? So it's the new kind of lineup that Toyota's making for all these electric cars. And seeing their entire line here, it's basically all SUVs except one, right? It makes sense as everyone's, getting into an SUV. Kind of happy that they still have a sedan, but other than that, it's a compact SUV, slightly bigger coupe-esque SUV, and then the RAV4 essentially in a Highlander. So
Yeah,
like
I hope they go with a different naming scheme. Toyota's always had names, so suddenly we're going to like binary naming structure. I think it's a little bit weird, but I don't know how I feel about just these names. It's just even as you're reading them out, I'm getting flustered.
so those are that's the BZ lineup, but there's still other ones. So they have a micro box and a mid box, which is they're kind of box vans. We can see them on the back with highlighter yellow colors. Those are like going to be delivery trucks and whatnot. Probably won't see them here in North America. But we get to the interesting ones. The one that is called the Sports EV. No real name for it, but it's basically an MR2. It
Yeah,
kind of looks like that mid-engine
looks
two-seater
like a
sports car.
Lotus, like a Elise size car.
Yeah, it looks
Not
great.
the Emira size, but actually looks smaller than that. So that's pretty interesting. It doesn't look like any other Toyota sports car. Like
It doesn't.
they kind of got that headlight scheme going across the board, but it's pretty unique. And that's the beauty of the MR2 is none of them look alike.
Yeah.
And so they can do whatever they want. It's just as long as you keep it MR2, you can the world is your oyster and you can just make whatever crazy sports car you want. This one appears to be very upmarket though, I will say. Compared to the last one, the MRS, which is very budget. This one looks to be competing against like the Tesla Roadster type of car. Where is that? Speaking of which,
Yeah,
it's been a while.
yeah, it's coming. Don't worry about it. Like Elon always says, it's coming. Don't worry about it. Then next to the MR2 looking thing, there's two more vehicles. One is the crossover EV, horrible name, and then the other one is the small SUEV, also horrible name. Those ones I don't care about. Let's go to the last two, which was the ones
Yeah,
do
these are the
care
ones
about.
we care about.
So the first one, it's the compact. I'm reading like three things at the same time. It's the compact cruiser EV. It's essentially kind of looks like a small FJ.
It looks like a Scion XB mated with a FJ. The second gen XP, the big one
the
with the
boxy,
FJ.
yeah.
Yeah, the boxy one with the bigger engine,
So
mated with an FJ.
there's live photos of this vehicle next to the next vehicle I was going to talk that we're going to talk about, and it looks pretty small. This is basically the size of like a compact crossover, kind of like,
Yeah, it looks like a Kona or like
yeah,
a
like a CX3 or sorry CX30 type size. It looks small, but in the world of small SUVs like the Jimny, like people love the Jimny. Justin really wants a Jimny.
yeah. I'll take this.
I think
I don't mind this.
this would be great. But I'm curious, with such a small vehicle, small footprint itself, how much batteries are they able to fit inside it?
Well,
What's
that's
the
the
range?
beauty is they're investing so much into this technology. They're so committed, Toyota, into this whole EV thing, um, and they're going to be the market leader. Like, a lot of people think Tesla is the market leader. I think Toyota is the one that's going to really influence a lot of the major manufacturers to, we got to step it up.
Right.
Tesla is a boutique manufacturer. Their volume is always going to be pretty low. But Toyota's like, we're ready to go full EV. Like, well, not ready right now, but we're aiming very soon to, here's a downside to that is that we're basically abandoning gasoline production. Like, we're not, and to Toyota's credit, they've abandoned gasoline engine production 15 years ago, which is why we're using hand-me-down technology. So Toyota saying they're investing $70 billion into this project. That's going to include the hybrids and the plug-in hybrids, which is why these are still competitive vehicles. They're very competitive vehicles, actually. But gasoline engines, like, we'll just use last decades or the decades before technology, and we'll just revitalize it a little bit, but don't expect much, I think, in terms of that. Now, what I do want to bring attention to is this little boxy off-roader thing, compact cruiser. It's got TRD Pro headlights. What that tells me is not only, that's the look, but that is today's design language, if not last year's design language, which means this is possibly production ready. To me, because they're not going to design for 5 year down the road design language if it's ready today. So that C-shaped halo and those three projector square things, that's already an existing design within the TRD Pro design language. So that hints to me that this is one of the first ones we'll see. It's a really weird one, but I could see this, especially in Asia, being a pretty popular vehicle. I don't know if this will even make it over here. But,
yeah, I mean, in North America, we don't like small cars. Small cars.
Apparently,
yeah, for some reason, I like them, but we, as North America sales figures goes, small vehicles don't sell well. That's why the IQ was abandoned here. That's why Scion as a brand was abandoned here. It does not work. But this compact cruiser EV, you know what it reminds me of? Lego.
Yeah.
It has a full-on Lego vibe to me, like like
everything it's tacked on.
Yeah, like an unbranded, Lego
It's just
car that
really
you can
jagged
get.
edges. Yeah.
It just reminds me of Lego, and that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm going to move away from this because I want to talk about the main vehicle, the one that most people are excited for, which is the pickup EV. So this, according to people that have seen this live, it's about the same size as a Tacoma, maybe a bit bigger, but definitely not as big as a Tundra. It seems to have a shorter box than the extendo boxes that you can get on like the Tacomas. So like maybe a 5-footer, I'm thinking, a 5.5. But this is Toyota's answer to Rivian and all the other guys, their own version of an electric truck.
Mm.
So is it just a Tacoma with electrical components underneath?
Yeah, and it's got that Tundra look. And again, this is today's design language. I think this one is gonna be real soon. It's got 10-year ago KO2s on it, so
That's how you know.
yeah, they're using ancient tire technology, which just slightly judging people that still choose to buy KO2s brand new. Uh, Throwing a bit of shade there, but I think this one is also, yeah, in the very near future because it looks like a Tundra, it's sized like a Tacoma. I think the pickup truck idea is makes sense with EV. It's just there's room on a body on frame vehicle that doesn't have to have a lot of interior volume, uh, historically speaking. And manufacturers like Rivian are gonna it's serious competition because Toyota, the bar is low as far as the mid-size pickup trucks to be the best seller in the market and to make no one even compares, like no one takes anything else seriously except for Toyota's mid-size truck. And they put zero effort into it and it will sell.
Yeah.
And I think we will see very similar stuff with this EV because Toyota's hybrid technology is so proven, and that's kind of always been the thing is people are so loyal to this brand and people only want this brand when it comes to a mid-size off-roady SUV, or not SUV but truck and SUV when the new 4Runner comes, which should be soon.
Soon,
So
like in
yeah,
5 more years.
and knowing Toyota, it's not going to be even priced like a Rivian. So that everything has to happen so fast and time so right for everyone else because Toyota is like, we're doing this.
Mhm.
And the Toyota product is going to be well built. It's going to last. It's going to have a huge dealer network. It's going to have a good parts network. Things that you just have to worry about with a Rivian or even a Tesla that you can't get with those smaller manufacturers. Like there's a reason why these trucks have the resale value that they do. They've had it before this chip shortage already,
Mhm.
and the chip shortage has only exacerbated things. But Toyota, they're such a leader, and there's no one really compares to them in terms of how they manufacture vehicles and how they sell vehicles. I'm curious though because Toyota's always been about quality, and they haven't really stressed uh, performance that much ever. At least numbers wise, the numbers games. But EV, the whole EV landscape is very numbers oriented. People don't really care uh, about the real world applications and stuff like reliability or build quality. They buy EVs based on the numbers they see. How fast is 0 to 60? How much range does it get? How fast can I charge it? These kind of things.
Mhm.
Toyota is not really a numbers company. They've never been. I don't think at any point in history will you see a Toyota with more towing capacity or more faster 0 to 60 or better fuel economy than any of their competitors ever. And their cars have usually not been the cheapest either. Uh, and that's kind of been, I don't know, what we know Toyota as a brand to be. So I don't know if things are going to be really different with EVs or if the things are going to stay the same and they're just going to have slightly underperforming vehicles, but with the Toyota reliability and quality be behind that name.
Yeah, definitely something to kind of see. But like I do agree with you. Most people that's buying EVs these days, or even interested in looking EV, it's like, what's the range? That's the first thing that they always ask. It's
Yeah.
not like how does it drive? Is the interior nice? Like, how easy is it to park? Like, these are questions that people have asked like forever, but no one's asking that now. No one's
Yeah.
asking is like, oh, how's the trunk space? Oh, can I, at 6'5", can I fit in it comfortably? No,
Mhm.
it's how far can I go? So yeah, absolutely super interesting. But if the BZ4X is something to go by, the range on Toyota products isn't going to be huge because the BZ4X, it's about 300 miles, I think it was. It's not going to be like a Tesla Model
Long
3
range.
long range kind of competitor there.
Mhm.
And speaking of the BZ4X, Lexus has debuted the RZ. This is the RZ450E, which is basically the BZ4X or the Subaru Solterra in Lexus format. So we can
Mm.
see that it's going to be more luxurious, of course. But one thing that did kind of catch my eye a little is the 450E mark that's on it. 450E generally stands for more of a performance variant within the Lexus
Mhm.
lineup. We saw that with the RX 450. We see that currently with the NX 450. It's the highest performing vehicle that they have. So it's possible the RZ 450 would have actually upgraded motors than the Toyota and Subaru variant. And in my eyes, I think the Lexus looks a little bit better.
It's
It's
definitely a lot classier because the fender on the BZ4 is it's a bit of a sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't want to say it's like necessarily ugly, but it's a little bit tacky. And this Lexus is just so much classier compared to both the Subaru and the Toyota. And it has the classic Lexus lines. Uh, yeah, it makes sense. And Lexus is really the talk for this whole press release, right? Lexus is kind of it's a more forward thinking brand, I guess. Uh, and they want to make that luxury EV brand that it always it boggles my mind when people talk, oh, Tesla is the number one luxury. Like, which part of a Tesla is luxury? Like, I don't see very much that's better than your average Honda Accord or Camry. Like, and that goes across the range, like up to the $200,000 Teslas. I don't see real luxury there. We're not seeing like crazy shiatsu seats or anything like that. Like, you look at a Lexus LS and that is luxury.
Mhm.
And I think because of that, Lexus is like, you know what? We're gonna take back the horns and we're gonna make Lexus the luxury EV brand. And uh, I think that's the right move. I think the market needs to wake up about
What
what
is
they
actually true
consider
luxury?
a luxury car. Um, yeah, currently the Lexus lineup is not half bad, but I think EV just makes it that much better because it's going to be quieter.
Mhm.
Uh, that alone is huge, and it's also as far as like a brand identity, then you're no longer driving an ancient brand because Lexus, in a sense, had pretty ancient product. The GX is a dinosaur. Uh, the LX recently updated is still a dinosaur. Well, the LX is not even out yet, and it's already a dinosaur. And I think, yeah, it helps the Lexus brand,
It
I think,
does.
to go in this direction.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. A styling trait that I actually really like back on this RZ is that D pillar. I don't know if you saw this in the press
Mm,
photos or not, but that D pillar is 100% RX right there.
yeah, and
It's
the door kink.
yeah, the door
Yeah,
kink and the pillar and then to the tail light, it's
yeah.
100% RX, and I love that
I
because
do
you
notice one thing I'm not a huge fan of, which is carried over from the current for CHR, is the belt line is very high up.
mm,
And especially for backseat occupants, I can see that being an issue. The door is huge. The door makes up like 70% of the height of this vehicle,
mhm.
like up to the bottom of the window. Uh, that to me, I get it from a styling perspective. I just don't know how that will be for visibility, and I don't know how that will be for rear seat occupants,
I
especially if they're smaller kids.
I think it's going to be okay because the seating is actually a little bit higher because of the
Right.
batteries underneath. So the door actually, like you say 70%, but like a good like 20-30% of the bottom of that door, it's
Could
like
just be all
all
batteries.
battery. So
And
like
then
you're sitting high
then the
already.
roof is very low.
Yeah. Then you get that
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. So it's either the roof is too low or the shoulder is too high. But either way, it's a good looking car, but I don't know if this will hinder it a bit in terms
Yeah.
of visibility.
I thought you were going to say that Lexus badge in the front looks weird.
No,
You like
I
that?
think it looks okay.
All
I
right.
don't know why it's not the blue or like
Oh, the
the
blue's a
black with
hybrid one.
the filled in like
Rather
with the
than actual
sensor.
yeah, rather than an actual emblem. Because
Mm.
I'm thinking is because like the sensors underneath the headlight, because that's gonna be a big plastic piece anyways. And the
Mm.
whole front end is flat, so you can put the sensor anywhere. You don't have to put it behind the badge
Mm.
anymore. Other than the RZ450E, Lexus, of course, also announced their own version of an electric sedan, which just looks like a
Take it.
sedan. Like,
It looks like an e-tron GT crossed with that Hyundai EV that has that kind of sharp looking nose. The roof line is incredibly Taycan though.
the roof line looks really tall, though.
Yes, it's like it's a Model 3 cross Taycan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have a sedan. They also have the
Ooh.
BZ5X luxury
It
version.
looks a lot better as a Lexus.
It does look better as a Lexus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
It's so muscular. Like,
this is their 3-row SUV. They don't have a name for it. They just call it the electrified SUV.
yeah, check it out. If you're listening to the audio version, this thing has road presence for days,
Yeah,
I think.
it kind
And
of
it's
reminds me.
classy.
It kind of reminds me of the new Infiniti QX60 a bit.
It does. But it's like it's got that huge SUV feel,
Mhm.
but it's classy doing it, which is, pretty impressive.
Yeah. And then their last electric. Oh, this is not it. This is a box. Their last electric vehicle that they wanted to show off for Lexus is a sports car, the electrified sports. So, all right, tell me that this doesn't look like the concept FT1,
Mm.
right? There's a little bit
Yeah,
of the concept
the
FT1 in
lines are
here,
very FT1. The hood is very FT1.
right?
Uh,
So what they've done essentially is like, hey, when we wanted to create the FT1, we wanted to look this way, and then we couldn't because we didn't have enough money to make our own Supra, and we had to make these, you know, kind of fit over the Z4 hard lines. So now they're like, hey, why don't we just take the design concepts that we did and put it towards this new electric Lexus sports car? So this is going to be like not a LFA replacement, but they want it to be LFA type
at
levels.
that level, yeah.
Yeah.
And I love they've integrated the Lexus swoop. They've integrated that D pillar thing that we talked about on the BZ4X
Right
version.
above that
But
real arch. Like, yeah.
yeah, it's got Lexus styling. This is a winner, like the LC. I really like their big coupes. Like, I don't care how it performs, to be honest, but it
Well, you speak of performance because they want to do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds in this. So that's blisteringly quick. And they
you
also
know what
want
it
to do
reminds me of?
Aston Martin.
TVR Cerbera Speed
Oh.
12. Not Aston Martin. The hood is TVR. Like, the car is
No.
70% hood.
If it's a TVR, it needs more like cuts and slashes into it.
Yeah. Well, no,
But
the Cerbera Speed 12, the street version, did not have that
oh,
crazy.
the Speed 12. I
Yeah,
was
the
thinking
Speed 12.
Sagaris for some
No,
reason.
Sagaris is too small. This is the really big one, the long one. Yeah.
It does have those proportions because the front wheel is all the way in front, which is kind of weird. Like, It's an electric sports car. Like, what are you hiding under there?
It's all batteries
Like, do they
for
put the
weight
batteries?
distribution. They
Do
have
they
to have
put the
the
batteries
wheels
in
in
a
front.
V format so
Uh,
that it looks like a V12 or something, or
uh,
V10? Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, they said it's gonna have 435 miles of range. I mean, that's a lot of range. And
mhm.
they kind of have to, right? In order to get those big bursts of speed to do the 0 to
Yeah,
60 in 2 seconds, they need a lot of batteries to power the electric motors that's on board.
yeah,
This
because
is
they're gonna run this at the Nürburgring. It's gotta last more than 2 laps, like a lot
or
of the other
or just
cars
one
have.
laps.
Yeah, it's gotta be more than a 1 lap one.
And it has to brake, which some fast electric cars can't do.
Without their ABS freaking out.
Yeah, or after a few repeated sessions, your brakes catch on fire.
Hmm.
Things like that. But that's the entire Toyota and Lexus lineup in the next. Well, I'm sure there's other vehicles that's going to be coming, but this is the next 15, I think it was. Yeah, next 15 or so cars that they're
Hmm.
bringing it out. It's definitely good to see Toyota's new direction here. Um, there's definitely a lot of cars that catch my eye. As an enthusiast, I like the MR2. As a family man, like I like that BZ5X as well as a Lexus variant of it,
Yeah.
and I like the truck. Like it looks cool. So
The truck is
absolute,
everything that we need because the Tacoma is so underwhelming that an EV version is just perfect because
yeah.
it just fixes the one big thing, well, multiple things, but the
It's
fuel economy is not from the 90s, the power is not from the 90s, towing capacity may not be from the 90s, just everything about it, the Tacoma that makes it wrong.
you,
Uh, yeah.
you know what they're gonna do? They're still gonna give it horrible back seats.
Or even a front seat that's horrible. You're still gonna have your legs stretched all the way out. You're still gonna have a hard time getting in and out because the overall shape is the same.
Yeah, like looking at the shape, like if
Yeah,
they are gonna
they gotta
have
tuck
this,
batteries under that seat, so don't expect anything short of a pre-runner
so
driving position.
I see that the pickup bed and the body, there's a split, is a huge split, which tells me it's not, a conjoined body like a ridge line
Ridgeline.
or a Rivian might be. This looks to me like a body on frame vehicle, which tells me that generally speaking, you're not going to have the legroom that you really want.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they probably do that because they probably will do a long bed, shorter cab.
Maybe,
I don't know. Yeah.
maybe. But yeah, super interesting to see uh Toyota and Lexus like full lineup here. And
Mm.
then the last thing I want to talk about, the G90. So we talked a little bit about this last week. We said how the G90 has been like updated again and again. So it was introduced in 2017. It got updated in 2020, and this is the second update to 2022. So it's pretty often, a lot more than you should be doing, which means the older G90s are going to go for a decent discount. And I
Yeah.
like the current G90. So the power is going to be a 3.5 liter twin turbo six. It's the same one that's in the G80 and as well as the GV80. Standard engine, works fine. Really no complaints there. I'm sure they're going to have some sort of plug-in hybrid or electric version that's going to coming in the future. But the things that are interesting here is there's going to be rear-wheel steering, massaging seats. There's a fingerprint scanner to start the vehicle rather than using like a key. There's air suspension. There's an optional 23 speaker Bang & Olufsen audio system as well. And the best feature of them all, the easy close doors. Easy close doors is basically the same thing that Rolls Royce has on the back doors, where you press a button and it closes the doors by itself. The G90 is going to have that. That's going to be pretty cool. And they also release interior photos. And
Nice.
looking at the interior photos, they look great. So I'm the new S class. It's not that I hate it, but I don't find it classy. I find it like it's trying to be a little too technologically like advanced. This is it just looks more usable. People that's buying these large sedans are, well,
They want some traditional feel.
yeah, they're generally of an older audience. And when you give them knobs and switches, they're generally a little bit happier than if you give them a giant tablet in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Giant tablets look great, but functionally, generally speaking, they're not as good, especially for this type of audience, as traditional buttons do. They still can't get a steering wheel right though. Like
I like this version of the two-spoke wheel a little bit better. Like
this
I
one's better.
think it looks a little bit classier.
It definitely looks better than the one that's in the G80 and all the other ones.
That one looked a little bit Jetsons,
but it's still super weird to me. But look at the back seats. You can get a long wheelbase version that's been announced as well, with like full-on massaging seats in the back. You get like it's absolutely beautiful. It really is.
Yeah. I love the headrest too. Like all these full-size sedans, the headrest is so cool.
Yeah, it's super comfortable.
But like I talked about previously, they ruined the rear end, and I don't care about it at all. Like it's two different cars. The car looks like, what they got inspiration from? They got inspiration from the Saab 900.
Ooh, I like the 900.
The 900 is one of those definitive cars. Like it is so important in terms of automotive history, but the 900 also looks like it's going backwards all the time. And yeah, this also looks like that.
I see what you mean. The slope itself to the deck and everything.
Yeah, it's the rake of the rear window or pillar relative to the A pillar. That is what makes the car look backwards, because the 900 has that cockpit like front windshield because it's basically vertical, and then the back window is very sloped, and that's what gives it that reverse cab backwards hat look. Basically,
it actually reminds me more of the. I mean, all Saabs kind of have that, right? The 9.5, the latest 9.5 had that exact same thing where it slopes down from the back all the way to the taillights. So I get what you mean. Maybe that's why I like it, because I really like Saabs.
Saabs are cool. I just the 900 is perfectly fine as is, because it looks like a cohesive design. Like it's one guy, it's going backwards, but I like it because one guy drew it, like, or one team drew it. But this has a different front end and a different back end. The front is all curvy and sleek. The back end is more jagged and not so sleek. It's just trapezoids everywhere. And so it's like the B pillar is two different cars. B pillar basically separates
the front.
It's like the boundary. Yeah.
No, I see what you mean. I don't care what you say though. I still like it. Any case,
I don't care what you think, because no one's gonna buy
it. That's also very true. When's the last time you saw a G90 on the road?
Or any Genesis product for that matter.
I see quite a few GV80s and GV70s actually.
I mean, compared to anything,
anything
from anyone.
I see more than I think I should, but definitely no more than.
I think even I see more Infinities, as garbage as they are, than and I'm not saying that Infinity makes a better car. Definitely they definitely don't make a better car, but I do see more people buying them.
That's also true. I'm trying to see on Genesis website how many they sold, like cars in general. Let's see. Genesis doubles 2020 sales, announces launch of pre-order. They doubled it, which means they sold 4 cars compared to 2 last year.
Yeah. Well, no, and they didn't have the GV80 last year. They had no SUVs.
So
before.
Okay, so in Canada, this is horrible. For 2021, wait, this is not right. This is just March. This is March information. So March 3rd of 2021. In the first 2 months, they sold 365 cars in 2 months.
Wow.
which is about the same as what Toyota sells for one product in 1 month.
Or like one day, like a single dealership. No. Yeah, maybe not that extreme, but like
no,
yeah.
they definitely aren't doing well in terms of the sales, but like it's baffling to me sometimes because they make really good products.
Well, the sedan is dead.
No, the
And
GV80 and the GV70, both of those are amazing vehicles.
yeah, exactly. Like the SUVs make sense, but they launched as
They launch
sedan
as luxury
manufacturer.
sedans, which just
Yeah, which is so
horrible
backwards.
timing.
Like
Yeah.
it's like they don't consider any market research and like what do people want? Not this. Let's make it and spend all our money developing it, and then we'll base our SUV off of it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely got things a little backwards, but I'm happy to see that they have,
Just
the
like the G90's design.
backwards.
The
Good.
old one looked
I love
better. I don't know. Like I think the outgoing model looks better.
the current model looks really good. I actually really like the current one. But the current one, what I didn't like was the interior because they didn't update it since 2017.
It's like 4 or 5 years old. But
yeah. But the old one, the 2017, was so bland. They took a lot of like the Equus stuff and they just left it. It's like it's just boring, essentially. Any case, I think that's really it for this week. Any other things that you want to go through?
I think that just about covers it. Do you want to talk about your video? I don't know.
Oh, it was a Buick Envision, 2021 Buick Envision, which
really nice car. The more I look at it, the more I like it.
It's such a good vehicle, and it's a damn shame that more people aren't buying it here in North America.
People don't even consider it. Just like the Genesis brand, people don't really. Well, not I don't want to say people, but our demographic definitely doesn't consider it. And there's no reason you don't consider that next to, I don't know, like a CX-5 even.
Yeah. It's the same price as the CX-5. That's the thing. It's the same price as the CX-5, but
it's so much nicer inside.
You get a nicer interior, arguably a nicer interior. There's more room inside as well.
They didn't engineer
the CX-5
driving.
It drives a lot better. I gotta admit, CX-5 does drive better. It has more power, especially with that 2.5 turbo.
Yeah,
but like,
who cares? I'd rather have the nicer interior, and the look is so good.
I love the look of it. It's such a nice looking vehicle.
Yeah,
like the one I got was the ST, or Sports Touring. I could live without the Sports Touring package. I would get the Avenir, which is the top of the line, which isn't a lot more money than the ST package that I got. The Avenir, beautiful front, rear. It's just a beautiful vehicle.
It's only 44
to start. You're gonna want to add some options onto it.
Oh, okay. Tech package.
Yeah.
Tech package. But it's still under 50.
Yeah, it is.
Fully loaded.
It is.
That is an incredible value. Don't buy I don't know, any Japanese car. Like, get this.
Yeah, you're like, don't. Everyone that's rushing to buy a RAV4, like a standard one, hybrid, I get it. Everyone's just rushing to buy a CRV. Don't look at those. Take a look at this. Like, seriously
consider it. And they're competing against the luxury brands. Like this, to me is better than anything Infiniti puts out. I think it's as good as an RDX. I don't know.
RDX, it's hard to say. The RDX is pretty nice, but the infotainment throws me way off. This is much easier to use inside.
Yeah, because it's just an evolvement of that older GM system that my Camaro had, which was not bad.
And there's wireless CarPlay in it. Like, it just it fully works. I would consider this over the QX50, the Infiniti QX50. A lot of people love that thing, and I don't. I like the engine is the 2-liter multi-compression engine.
VC.
I think it's just going to be a point of failure. It's
Yeah.
so complicated, right? Like there's no need for it. It doesn't make any more power than other 2-liter turbos, and it's not any more efficient than any other 2-liter
Yeah.
turbos.
And then
There's
you
no
got to compare this also to the Q3 or the X1. And I'm like,
oh
damn, this thing is nice.
yeah,
Like,
if you compare this to any of the German rivals, it's the size of the X3 because I actually had
yeah.
this right after I had the X3, and it's the same size except this is 50 and the X3 was 80.
Yeah, 50K full load. Because I remember you mentioned the Avenir, and I was like, okay, that's the one I recognize. But and then I looked at your video, which is on not the top of the line
Mhm.
model, and I'm like, oh, it still looks pretty good.
It
It's
still
still a
looks great.
handsome car.
Yeah.
Yeah, just I am pretty impressed by this. I think people are sleeping on it. That's why I wanted to bring it up because
Mhm.
I saw the review and I'm like, why have I never even looked at this car? Why do I never see them on the road?
Yeah.
I
It's
think it's a beautiful product, and that's the thing is that I don't like any of Chevy's products. like, like I kind of think the Trailblazer has some charm to it, but overall, GM as a or not GM, but Chevy, the Chevy vehicles to me are pretty underwhelming. But this is like, ooh,
so this actually doesn't share any platform with the Chevys.
hmm.
The only one that shares a platform with this is the XT5 or 4,
Ah,
sorry, XT4 from Cadillac.
right.
Um, and I don't think the XT4 looks as good as this.
This is gonna age well too. That's the
It,
beauty of it. It
yeah,
looks good, and it will age well. Uh, so yeah, let's give it its moment in the spotlight just for a little bit, and yeah, no, I hopefully someone will listen to this part of the show.
yeah. It's like you don't have to like if you don't add options, like the base is 36, and you get a lot of stuff with it already.
Mm.
You get a lot. It's a 10.2-inch infotainment system. Most vehicles in like that price range gets you like a 7-inch. Like 35 grand if you go to Toyota for 35 grand.
With wireless CarPlay,
Yeah. Like you're
you're
not
getting a
getting
really crappy RAV4.
you
Like
exactly.
no power trunk. Well, no, 35 you can get a power trunk, but cloth seats, really ugly headlights, those weird reflector headlights.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and same with the CRV, and the CRV is old too, and
Exactly.
none of them have this much power either.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is a 2-liter turbo and it's good power. And it's not a CVT. It's a good old 8, 9 speed. I can't remember now. It's a
Mhm.
good old standard, whatever 8 or 9 speed transmission. And it shifts smooth. It just works well. Like it is such a good product, and it absolutely sucks that no one's buying it. And because no one's buying it, no one's searching for it. The video's not doing as well as other videos as
Mm.
well. Like no one's really looking for a vehicle like
Yeah.
this.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the problem with journalism is that, or automotive journalism specifically, is that this car is not going to make headlines, right? Like there's no one thing that exciting about it aside from, but it's just like a really good value. It's a good design. It's a good dealer network, as I mentioned before.
Yeah.
One of the nice things when the Camaro, the extended warranty on that thing was so cheap, and just the maintenance cost itself was cheap too. Because I remember one of the funniest conversations I had because coming from like a more Euro background or even Japanese cars, the finance guy was trying to scare me like, oh, the AC compressor in this thing is like $600. I'm like, only? like you need to get a warranty to protect yourself, like in case if anything happens outside of warranty, you want to this is transferable and everything, and like going through, there's like a diagram with like how much parts cost on these cars, and GM parts are so cheap and so widely distributed. AC Delco isn't everywhere. uh that's one of the unspoken benefits of buying a GM product in North America. Hmm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Like it's just one of those that no one looks at. I mean, even
I don't know.
the
Is J.Mak Reviews doing a car of the year?
gotta give it to the Envision.
We got yeah, we got to talk more Buick and yeah,
Get more people on Buicks. Yeah,
because people
it's
are okay. So here's the thing: if people are excited about Genesis, even though no one's buying it, same thing, right? No one's buying it, but people are actually excited about it. People do recognize that brand exists,
yeah.
uh, and I think people may want to buy it. But this Buick is just it's one of the most slept on brands, I think.
It is. Yeah, you're not wrong. And I actually always liked the Enclave, so the
Mhm.
big one. For 2022, they have an updated front end,
It is
and
so nice.
it's absolutely
I've
beautiful.
seen it in person in a white color. I think they have like a pearl white, and it is really nice. I don't know anything about the car, frankly, but just styling wise, Buick is killing it. Uh,
Like, tell me this does not look good. Like,
yeah, that looks like $100,000.
look
Like,
at that headlight. Look at the grill. Like,
what they really need to do is like get rid of Chevy.
so I. One of the biggest issues is like their marketing right now. It's like, oh, I can't believe that's a Buick. Like they're kind of addressing their problem, right? No one really knows about them, but I think they're kind of they're going at it at a wrong angle as well. They're getting all these like influencers and whatnot to like
Mm,
kind of model these cars. Like, oh, that's my Buick, and it's super fake. It's the same thing with
yeah,
like just Chevy commercials, where they have like the truck bed saying, "Oh,
the
aluminum
honest.
beds," or like you can put holes in them. It's a super fake, and you can tell, and it's not selling the vehicles well. What they need to do is like they just need to get these cars to actual people to drive, not journalists, not influencers, because like they all they do is like, oh, this is my Buick, it's amazing, and then 2 days later, oh, this is my Audi, and it's like it doesn't
You
have
can
any
pay
like
them to say anything. There's no genuine
yeah.
quality to that type of review.
What you need
Uh,
is you need small YouTubers like J.Mak Media, sub 2000 subscribers on YouTube at the moment, and he's talking this much information about Buick and saying how good it is. That's something that is worthwhile, because
yeah,
the big brands, I know for a fact that Car and Driver gets paid by like dealers, because if you go to Car and Driver and then you're like, oh, I want to take a look at EVs, it's not EV on there, it's a Volvo XC40. It's a picture of the Volvo. Like, why do you think that's there?
yeah,
Because they're getting paid.
yeah.
That's why.
And then I look at the Chevy lineup, and it's just it sucks. Like the crossovers they have all suck to me. The Track sucks. The Trailblazer sucks. The Equinox sucks. The Blazer sucks. The Traverse
Whoa,
is
whoa, whoa! The
okay.
Blazer, the Blazer is a
The
Camaro
the
SUV. Okay,
Camaro SUV, it's 40 grand and like has an interior of like a
a Camaro.
$16,000 and none of the performance to back it up.
It has a very potent 3.6-liter V6. It has 300 horsepower.
It has a
Okay,
lot of grip, like to breathe in all of that, the all 280 horsepower or whatever.
the the
I don't
Blazer
know.
would have been better if they did what Ford did with the Bronco.
We
Like,
get no.
they. I don't know why they didn't though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
That's the thing.
The Blazer, even before that Bronco, like the K10, there's a K10 Blazer, K5 Blazer,
K5
K5
Blazer.
Blazer.
Yeah.
Those are like the crazy off-road monster truck looking things. But even after that, we had like the Jimmy Blazers, the not the one that you own, but like the
The one that's called
Sonoma
Jimmy.
S10,
Yes. Yes, I get you.
the GMC Jimmy Blazer. And those ones are still kind of fun. Like they're still kind of fun and cool. It doesn't have to have, it is a terrible interior, but at least it had charm. This one is like it looks kind of aggressive on the outside, but it's like no substance to it. No excitement to the actual powertrain or interior that really lives up to what the exterior aggression is trying to portray. And it's not even cheap.
No, it's not. But that's what's listed. I mean, right now it's very different. I actually had the Blazer 2 years ago, and I was at a local dealership asking, how much is it out the door? They were very, very, very happy to give me like I think it was like $5,000 or $6,000 discount.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm sure you're not going to get that now, but even at a $5,000-$6,000 discount, do you want a Blazer, or would you want something?
I'll take the Buick. Like I'm walking into the same showroom. I will take the Buick. Like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
The Envision is really nice. I super surprised by it. Like a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's made in China. It's garbage. Your phone's made in China. Your computer's made in China. Like,
Arguably the Chinese. Well, Tesla is the case in point. The Chinese made Teslas are known for being better quality than the US made ones. So, because guess what? You have now, let's not get into politics, but working conditions are very different in China. Let's just put it nicely.
that way.
That's all I'm gonna say, and that tends to reflect in the quality of the products.
Yeah, but I think that's really it for this week. Anything else you want to go over?
No, we're running low on time.
All right, that sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for listening in this week, and we'll catch you next week for some more automotive news. Take care,
See you
everyone.
next week.